First item on the agenda is the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need to announce that tonight's meeting is being live streamed on the township's YouTube channel, so just be aware of that. And I open the floor to public comment. This pertains to anything that's not on the agenda. If you want to bring it up, this would be the time to do it. Yes, sir.
My name is Mark Harris. I live at 1611 Honeysuckle Court. Can you turn it? It is on. It's like slide the power. Push it up. Push up. Is that it? Am I up? There we go. That's in the Arbors community down here, right? I'm blessed enough to have a home overlooking the reservoir. So if folks are familiar or not familiar. I came to ask about the Fern Hill Reservoir and about what's going on over there, especially how it ties in possibly to the strategic, the comprehensive plan that's here. Just this last week, there was some survey being done where they actually surveyed the entire lake, pounded stakes in all around. The thing I'm kind of concerned about, because we're hearing a lot of rumors about the lake being drained, about there being a possible problem with the dam, and one of the things I do understand, I've done a whole lot of work this last week trying to understand the comprehensive plan. It's an awesome plan, by the way. It's the first time I ever took a look at it. Sorry, I've been here 12 years, but it's a really cool looking plan. So I went through trying to figure out, like, where is the Fern Hill Reservoir in the particular plan that's out there. I saw it mentioned a couple different times, but it's pretty much documented as used for water for a reservoir. And the one thing I came to find out this week is it's not used for any drinking water that we have out there, to my knowledge. So somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But what it appears to be happening right now is that they're using all the drinking water we get from the Brandywine Creek and 4 or 5 other wells that are out there. Again, I could be incorrect on that. So someone like me is seeing stakes going into the ground, and that can only mean a couple of different things to me. It means they're either doing something out there to try to survey the property, or they're possibly going to sell the property. I thought that might be important to folks like yourselves here. Again, this is just my conjecture on this. I'm only one person. I am not representing my neighborhood, although there's 32 houses in my neighborhood that sit on that particular thing. We all have stakes in our backyard right now. And I do have calls into Aqua. They haven't called me back yet to try to find out what their strategic plan is moving forward with that. I really enjoy the bald eagles that come out and sit on a tree right outside my house this morning, and all the wildlife that's there, so I'm pretty concerned on this. And if anybody can give me any information about it, I'd sure appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I can elaborate a little bit on this. Aqua did come and meet with the township 2 years ago and talk to us about they have to upgrade the spillway. Yep. So they told us they'd be going down to potentially do the survey, potentially to upgrade the spillway, and that's as far as we go. It's their reservoir, it's their property. Aqua is their own as far as it's from the building. They can go through whatever process they go through. They could be surveying it to determine they prefer the project to upgrade the spillway. It could be surveying just to actually know where the property boundaries are. I can't speculate what they're surveying for. They have the rights to any of the property owners to their property, but
Sure.
The way it's currently in our zoning map, it's currently zoned the residential property.
Ooh.
So it's the residential district.
I thought it was reservoir. It shows up on the comprehensive plan as a reservoir.
In our zoning map, it's currently zoned a residential property. So it's,
Okay.
it can only be used as a reservoir, or it has to be used for residential uses if you choose to try to market it. But I don't know how they can go about it as a public utility.
Yeah.
Market. I don't know anything how that works. It's a state, they're a state regulated utility. We wouldn't have to deal with the township for any kind of sale of that. It's just because it's a regulated utility. But on the current zoning map, it's zoned residential property.
So if they could use it for one to many houses?
I don't know if Aqua is in the business of trying to develop it to create houses. So the
Somebody else
land is
is-
even feasible underneath to develop houses, because it's good reservoir for housing.
Well, again, if they're not using it to actually create their product, which is drinking water for us, then it would seem to me to be an albatross on that. That's exactly why I want to try to find more information. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I can't speculate as to what they're
That's
doing.
good.
I mean, it's their reservoir.
Yeah, they haven't come back to the township
Since
2 years ago.
Since they gave us told us that they were looking, that they needed, that they'd be drawing down the reservoir to relieve pressure on this building.
Got it.
That's as far as we know.
Good, thank you. I really appreciate the background.
If they wanted to develop it residentially, they'd have to come before us.
Right. Because it's an awful lot. I know you guys mentioned a lot in the comprehensive plan about tree zones and many other open spaces and things. And it certainly is a big one. So I hate to see us lose that as a township.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of our last meeting. It was September the 9th. Any comments or a move to approve? Motion's been made to approve. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? All approved, yeah. All right. Minutes are approved. Next item is the initial SOLO application submissions. Subdivision plan for 851 South High Street.
Maybe the,
Good evening, everyone. While Mr. Kulikowski is getting that up, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jonathan Long. I've been here before on this project a long time ago in front of all of you. We do have Mike Beatty from RIT2 here, the engineer, and Art Dial and his son Varun from the owner of the property, Aurora Estates. This is the, I'm sure you're all familiar with it, it's the Exxon on South High Street, just south of the borough, on that corner of the township. It's right at the corner of Rhodes Avenue and South High Street. So what I had Mr. Kulikowski bring up here is last time we were in front of you, we were still pending to go in front of the zoning hearing board. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of some of the history and how we've gotten to where we are now. I think this was probably the last plan all of you saw, so a little bit of the history of the property. It's oddly enough, it's a split zoned property. It's one single piece. If you remember, we talked about the front half along High Street is C1. This back half here, which is currently just a grass plot, is zoned R3. With the, essentially what kicked this off is the Wawa coming in down the street. My client wanted to upgrade and update his business in order to be able to compete. Currently, all that is there is a very small 1,500 square feet or so, small convenience store, which actually is a non-conforming use, as the regulations of the township require a convenience store to be 3,000 to 5,000 square feet. So we went before the zoning hearing board and requested variances related to the expansion of a non-conforming use, as well as relief from the required number of parking spaces and actually put in less parking. So what we had, and this was the plan that you saw that we were moving forward with. What we ended up, and as you'll see, what we ended up doing is carving out and taking out this parking here because we found we didn't really need it under the ITE standards. So it gave us more impervious coverage. It also made it much less impactful not having cars parking right here with the property right next door. And that lowered the amount of impervious coverage that we have. You'll also see one of the things we did is we took this peninsula, moved it over here, made this wider. We're planting a tree here and multiple trees in a hedgerow here in order to also create more of a buffer and to make it less impactful. Yeah, do you want to bring up the color rendering that we want to start with? Yeah, this one. Yeah. So we went before the zoning hearing board. We got our requested variance relief to allow the expansion of the building and not have to put in required 56 parking spaces. We were able to get, I think, 33 ultimately in the end. So as you can see, that parking's gone, creating more of a buffer here. We've added some extra additional trees and whatnot along the loading zone. Here are the trees on this side on the island here, as well as there is a hedgerow right in here. The proposed plan has these row of, basically they're arborvitae, right? Evergreens. A mix of evergreens to create a buffer, as well as along this property line, we're going to put in a fence, and as well as along here, along the side of this gentleman's property, we're going to put a fence here as well in order to prevent headlights and things like that coming. So that's where we're at right now. Trying to think of what else we have. So we're here for basically for feedback from you folks, to see what you think of the plan, if there's anything that, we are still waiting, just so, as you're aware, probably on Mr. Kulikowski, as well as other township review letters to see if there's any other technical issues or anything like that that we have to do. We are proposing as part of this, currently because of the age of the current Exxon, there is no stormwater on the property. However, obviously, as part of expanding and doing this, we are going to be installing stormwater, so that will improve that issue. And there is no plan. We're not touching. These are the gas pumps right here. We're not touching the gas pumps. Basically, other than maybe reworking some of these parking here and this, the front half of the property is really not going to be touched. So, yeah.
Are you going to do anything with your storefront access, pedestrian access to your storefront? How is it now?
Where's the door on it to get in?
Yeah, do you have parking in front of your store, nose-in parking?
So there's, because of currently as it stands, if you go to the Exxon now, there's not parking directly in front. The parking's off this cliff right now. There's parking along here, there's a couple spots here, and there's some over in this area. But a lot of this tends to be more of the loading and unloading area for the trucks that are coming.
Is there any traffic flow that goes in front of the store through the pumps?
Yeah, so if you pull up, there are spots right here, right in front of this, kind of right in front of the store. Yeah, the street view might help. Yeah, so you can see that you can pull, like I've used the gas station, you can pull in on that side of the pumps. So there's no parking directly in front because of how basically the proximity of the pumps.
Okay, so can the cars on the further pumps right next to the store, do they pass right in front of the store? Is there a sidewalk in front of the store?
There's a little bit of a sidewalk. They're not pulling up and you like reach out and touch the side of the building. They're not that close. But so there's a little bit of an area you could walk, or I don't know if there's a full-on paved sidewalk in front of it.
Are you doing anything with the front of that, or no? You're not. Are you changing anything with it to that front?
I believe that'll get updated as part of the building when they expand it, just to make it all conform and look more modern.
The reason I'm asking is a few weeks ago there was a storefront crash at the Root Oil at the corner. It's 847 Bailey Pike. There was a storefront crash. No one was injured, but we don't want that to happen again.
Okay.
So,
I mean, we could easily talk about putting in bollards or something.
Yeah.
There are bollards.
Are there?
There's some bollards up on the left side of the building currently to help prevent that. So there's a little bit of a sidewalk and there's some bollards that prevent currently as it existed in the frame.
there's nothing in our code that requires it, but hopefully there will be.
Yeah. No, I mean, just for general safety, that I don't think we'd be opposed to something like that.
That's what I was getting. Thank you.
And honestly, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the entrance is actually going to be moved around.
Yeah.
It's gonna be column over there,
Yep.
and the board.
And the bollards.
Okay. And I think the main entrance really is going to be around on the new side, right? Yeah, so it'll be on that, sort of on the Rhodes Avenue side of the building. So that, yeah, it'll be over here, since most of the parking will be over here. So So if people want to come and get gas, they can get gas and then they can head out. But if people really are going to stop and go to the convenience side, this would be the side that they're probably on. And there is parking, there's sidewalk and a bit of a buffer there.
So will there be bollards on that side?
Likely,
There's curbing there.
there's curbing.
There's curb for the, it's like cars on the side.
8-inch curbing?
6-inch vertical, 8-inch width.
Can we require them to put 8? Why?
I gotta look at, I can't tell you, I gotta check the code, I don't know what the code says.
We gotta fix that, we can't make it.
8-inch curb is non-ADA, is non-ADA compliant with building codes to high performance space in the building.
Well, as long as there's cutouts, appropriate places.
It's the building code controls up more than it's out. Building code, ADA, accessibility, that controls the length of the sidewalk as far as how close you can get into the building because you get into the parking lot, into the building. The ADA code supersedes us.
I mean,
We have to drive, we have to design it for the ADA accessibility to get into the building.
we can always look, I know if you go to Wawa, a lot of times when you pull up into the spot, there's a bollard right in front of you. So we can look at something like that and potentially doing that kind of thing in order to, you know, obviously last thing he wants is, my client wants is a car, you know, busting through the front door. So for everybody's safety and his own pocketbook in that regard. So, so yeah, I don't think we'd be opposed to looking at something like that to try and ensure that a car is
It's
not
not
going
only
to do that.
protects the building, but it's safety.
Mhm.
Reduces liability.
And so, yeah, so over here, part of our, you know, I know this gentleman raised concerns when we were in front of the zoning hearing board. So the point of putting in taller deciduous trees as well as a hedgerow was to block as much light as possible. Per our lighting plan, it's obviously not supposed to be leaving the property, but any glare, anything from headlights, anything like that, the idea is to try to keep it all shaded and in the property as much as possible.
How about lighting in the back where the dumpsters are, with that area? It's about a 9-foot difference in grade for the neighbor behind. If the trees are going to be so high, you're going to lead to the neighbor. Is there any lighting back there?
We're proposing lighting back there, and the photometrics of it show that it's not going over the property line, so there's no anticipated issues with that at the moment.
And that was part of the reason for
Will they
putting
be
in.
mounted to the building, or will it be a freestanding?
Freestanding. Yep.
And is the, you know better than I do, currently at the back of the building, there's a slope down.
Correct.
This way.
Yep.
So is this going to be lower, or is it?
It's slightly, yes, the loading area is slightly lower than the building itself in terms of elevation, and then it continues to go down from there.
So it's not going to be as high as the building is here.
Correct.
Yeah, it'll be slightly lower end.
How high is that fence?
6 foot.
6 foot, okay. I'd like you to make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing
Yep.
to the property owner. In fact,
It's
I'd like to see what it looks like when you come for final approval.
Yeah, it's currently proposed as a 6-foot vinyl solid fence.
Similar to what he has there now, right? And one of the things we're going to talk to the property owner, and we can talk to the township about as well. So currently we have proposed fence here. Sam, and I'm forgetting his last name, Tarantini. He has a chain link fence around his backyard. So we are not currently proposing a fence right here because we didn't want to put a fence right up against his fence because that could cause problems in maintaining both of them or one of them. So we might talk to him about whether or not if he, basically try to work with him on maybe some kind of solution there. And if he wants a fence all the way across, you know, we're happy to kind of do that. So work through that with him.
I think we're also going to need to put in sidewalks on both High Street and Rose Avenue. 5-foot sidewalks.
They would only have to, like, I have to check the ordinance, how I review it, so I can't comment on which, one or, but one for sure, High Street, there's no land out there put anymore. But that's a PennDOT issue, PennDOT controls that place.
That's the most important.
So I'll have to look at it when I look through the review and check the ordinance. I know our ordinance was written, there's a section where it's going to require sidewalks and development. So I can review, I can't comment. It's both part of it.
Any other comments? Okay, this is an initial submission, so no actions required.
Yeah, no, we're not asking for approval tonight, we're still waiting on the township review. So,
But the time clock, third time clock starts.
How do you feedback on the property owners?
we made, part of the reason we made the changes to the plan as part of the zoning was from having meetings with the neighbors and talking through with them and trying to make it the least impactful as possible. You know, the lady here, she obviously expressed concern about, you know, the loading potentially being back here, hence and as well as Sam did as well. So that's why this additional layer is here. That's why we put fences on either side. That's why we moved the parking, that kind of stuff. So we've been trying to incorporate and balance that, the idea that he still can do what he needs to do on the property, but obviously it's trying to be the least impactful as possible.
And stormwater's not going to be an issue, what do you assume?
Well, so one of the waivers we have is from, not from stormwater, but from infiltration, because we did soil testing, and it's not, the soil's not high quality for infiltrating, so it's going to be minimum detention basin. But there will be stormwater. We have to provide the stormwater on the property for the impervious that we're adding. So.
And include purpose that is there. Right? Correct.
Yeah. And it's going to be back in this general area. So currently, because if I remember from the zoning, because it's obviously this is older, nothing was ever done on it, and then it's a slope down. This gentleman here did say that he has, when it rains hard, he gets, you know, water just comes running down here. So obviously the idea for us would be to stop that and hold it and maintain it. Yeah, and not have him getting inundated by it. So, any other comments or no?
Thank you. Good question, John.
Yeah.
Is he going to be selling food there in the expanded space?
Yeah, it's going to be similar to like a Wawa, as you would see that here. One of the things that we discussed, and you weren't all privy, and you weren't all at the zoning hearing board meeting, but you know, really 1,500-foot store is tiny. He actually does have a kitchen in there for making sandwiches, things like that. But because the store is so small, he doesn't really have the space. The kitchen has basically been converted to storage. So part of this, one of the things he's doing, if you read through the plan, is it's not just expanding the store itself. The footprint is going to be 3,995 square feet. However, 1,500 square foot basement is going to be dug to provide that storage and whatnot. So then that reserves more space up top. Yeah, so that way we could, and that also helped us keep the store a little smaller. We're not expanding so much, and, you know, but it gives him the space to store things.
Are you going to have access to the basement through the side, or?
They're going to be in the back, right? Back here? Or?
Is it going to be a walkout basement on the side, or?
I think we're still working through that, exactly. But yeah, it might be, depending on the elevation, a walkout, or it might be, you know, what do they call those doors that are built or something like that to get down there.
So the loading dock area would be in the rear of the building?
Yeah, this is the loading area zone right here. So the idea would, this would give the trucks the ability to come in and back in right here.
So that's my next question.
And we did discuss at the zoning hearing board meeting, he gets a couple deliveries a week, maybe. It's usually, you know, chip guy comes one day, maybe the soda guy comes another day, kind of thing. So it's not like there's, you know, going to be multiple trucks coming every single day, backing up there, you know.
We're going to look at it.
Tractor trailer.
Yeah, I mean, they get it in here now. But this gives them a little more space to kind of maneuver around and whatnot as well.
Are we looking at restricting the timing so there's not too early deliveries?
Yeah, I mean, currently, right now, I think he just gets the deliveries during the normal business hours. And yeah, obviously, he would have to adhere, after all this is over, to the township's noise ordinance and things like that. So it couldn't be getting deliveries at midnight or at 5 a.m. or things like that, where it's going to be potentially, you know, loud and waking people up or keeping people up.
The noise ordinance self-limits, or limits them to when they can get deliveries. We don't have to
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate your time. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the preliminary and final subdivision plan for 800 North Five Points Road. It's currently occupied by a business called Pharma Block.
That'd be good, yeah. Good evening, Justin Brewer with Howe Engineering. Also have Mr. Rene Gonzalez, representative from Farm and Block here with us tonight. I guess it's been a few months since we've been here in front of you guys, gals, but we are back here. We've gotten a few review letter cycles with the township consultants and Mr. Kulikowski. So just as a refresher, our Farm Block located on South Five Points Road, existing building about 24,000 square feet, bordered by 202 Five Points, and then backs up to the Westchester Reservoir. They're looking to expand their operations with approximately a 4,000 square foot building addition on the southeast corner. Thank you, Brian. Over top of it, currently there's about 8 parking spaces located there. Those parking spaces will be removed for the building addition. Stormwater, so part of the parking spaces required are 90 spaces for the development. Currently they have 101, taking away those 8. Brings us down to 93, but we are also adding on the south side of the building 2 parking spaces with EV chargers. Stormwater management, because we're adding impervious, over top of the impervious, we do comply with the township ordinance and counting some of that impervious as a meadow condition. So for stormwater, we are proposing subsurface, we call it a managed release concept bed. We did infiltration testing on the site, and similar to the previous application, soils are not conducive to that infiltration. So we're proposing that small bed to discharge to the existing basin on site, which ultimately then discharges towards the Westchester Reservoir. A few other points to touch on. Landscaping. Swing to that there, Brian. There we go. So to meet the visual buffer requirements of the township ordinance, we do need to supplement some of the existing vegetation along the southern property line, and we're proposing, I believe it's about 9 green giant arborvitaes. Another kind of related to landscaping, and I know it was mentioned on the previous application, is lighting. We're proposing 4 building mounted lights, 1 on each end and then 2 on the long side of the building. 2 waivers requesting, one being the infiltration and allowing for the use of the managed release concept for the stormwater management. And then the second waiver we are requesting is for a preliminary final application that we're here with tonight. We've received Carol Engineering's review letter, in addition to Mr. Kulikowski's letter. Fire Marshal's letter we received, I believe, with our initial application and responded to. Didn't receive anything back from them. As far as the Carol review letter goes, comply with everything in that letter, as well as Mr. Kulikowski's. Generally, that's what I have. If there's any questions, Brian had anything from his letter he wanted to touch on.
The only thing I guess I just missed in my letter, the fire marshal did send me an email that they addressed all their comments.
Thank you.
If you have that email, I just didn't realize it. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about the waivers, the board, the black windows, my letter has potential recommendations project on page 4. A couple minor things. The Ashland's concept is a DEP accepted stormwater method for properties to do not meet preliminary filtration requirements. They came up with that after they put out the BMP manual and all the requirements to go into filtration. People started finding sites where they couldn't infiltrate. So then they're asking, well, what do you do? So the DEP actually created the concept, and there's a whole design methodology that we use and DEP forms that they're going to have to provide to show that they meet the DEP requirements. That's what genesis of comment number A, the manager's constant requirements is to provide all the most documentation in the report. That's what Carol and I look for as well. What Carol put in the letter. So their design seems adequate. It's just the DEP documents won't provide. And other than that, there's basic conditions of the fund of Social security. And in my letter, BEP agreement will be prepared at the end, so it matches the final plan as part of the report. And there's a few minor comments in Carol and Jim's letter that are not major that we can address. So,
How many employees do you have? Is there right now?
Currently, there's 35 in the building.
You have 35 employees? Well, with this expansion, do you anticipate hiring more?
We'll probably hire maybe total of 3.
So you're looking under 40 individuals, and you have 93 parking spaces. You have more than that.
More.
Well, what is our ordinance as far as the EV charging station requirement?
they meet the minimum requirement. They're actually providing 2 full charging spaces. Because the requirement is based on the size of the proposed building. And they're actually providing full charging spaces, other than providing chargers. Will that charger be just for employees?
Okay, do you have any problem with complying with Brian's?
No.
Okay.
Both Brian's letter and ultimately Carol's letter as well.
Right.
We can comply with those.
Okay.
Sorry, what was your question?
Brian had a modification to the stormwater drainage, and I just wanted to make sure that they were.
There's a line, they have to take one minor tweak to their stormwater, which is nothing major in their design. They're here tonight to ask for a recommendation.
Any comments, questions?
How close are the residents?
It's on the other side of the reservoir. I think it's quite a distance. I believe the notifications for the zoning when we were here before is 500 feet, and I think it just barely touched a few of the properties there when they received
I'm
notification.
just concerned about any lighting issues.
So this is farmable lot.
Through the woods.
And this is the residences here.
Somewhere in 500.
I drove back there today, you can't see that stuff.
They met with our HOA also. And our board went over there, went through an inspection, they said it was very delightful. But I'm only talking as an individual.
I can collaborate, they were very happy.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval contingent upon satisfaction of your letter.
Just, you want to use the 4 conditions of my letter?
I'll just say satisfaction of the township letter, being about the rate.
Okay, so if you look at the back page, I put mine and Carl's.
Yeah, did you write Carol's letter?
Good job. That works.
A motion's been made for approval. Is there a second? Gary, seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We will We'll pass this recommendation on to the Board of Supervisors.
Great, thank you all very much.
Right. We have no zoning hearing board applications, so we'll move on to conditional use application, Kia of Westchester, West Town Road and East Neal Street.
Gina, what do you want for? What do you want for?
Good evening, my name is Gina Gerber. I'm here on behalf of the applicant this evening. This is an application on behalf of JAS Real Estate Holdings LLC, which are the owners of property at 326 West Town Road. 326 West Town Road, which is the parcel right here, which is the operating Kia of Westchester vehicle sales and dealership, as well as 721 East Neal Street, which is the second parcel in question. And the third parcel is 739 East Neal Street. The applicant is owning and operating the vehicle sales and service agency on this current plan right here. The applicant has retained and has obtained title to these additional 2 parcels. So the overall development that you're looking at here is in order to expand the existing Kia Westchester dealership onto these 2 adjacent parcels on Neal Street. If you're familiar with these properties, there is an existing, it was a former veterinary building right here on the corner of East Neal Street and... Got it? Okay, so there's an existing building here right now that the applicant is proposing to use for his expansion of the dealership. That is going to be an administrative building for his staff and employees. It's going to be additional offices for the Kia dealership. In the rear of the property, there is an existing building here that was most recently being used, I think, for used vehicle sales and repairs. It is going to be knocked down. This building is going to be rebuilt on roughly the same footprint we see here, and that is going to be used for vehicle repairs. So again, this new facility that we're talking about here is all going to be for internal operations to the existing Kia dealership. We're not anticipating additional customer area. This is going to be an area which is going to be for expediting repairs so that customers can get in and out of their vehicle services a little bit faster for the existing dealership. So the dealership is going well. The client is looking to expand this a little bit to make sure the business continues to go well and that they can continue to service their existing customers on the site. This is a plan that you all have seen because we did have to go before the zoning hearing board in order to get variance relief with regard to this plan. So the zoning hearing board did grant variance relief with regard to the amount of green area that would be landscaped out on this plan. We were just under the 30% that is required. And in order to be able to allow this building here to be set back less than the required 20-foot setback along these 2 property lines. So even though we were improving the condition of the existing building with this new building setback, we did have to go get variance relief because it was a new building. So minor variance relief, we have secured those and we're onward and upward now to the conditional use. Now the conditional use, the purpose of that is in order to extend the vehicle sales and service use to those 2 additional parcels on Neal Street. There is already approval in place in order to operate the dealership as it's currently operating. It's just an expansion of that use to the 2 adjacent parcels. We did contemporaneously submit a land development application, which is pending with the township, in order to show the improvements that I just walked through now on the site itself. In addition to those building improvements, what you're going to see is there's going to be some additional parking areas on the site. Obviously, this is a car dealership and service agency, so you're going to see some inventory parking as well as some employee parking. You'll note that this parking island right here, which is shaded in a darker gray color, this is actually going to be porous pavement. That's going to help with our impervious coverage. I think that's something that you all actually recommended before we went before the zoning hearing board. So we appreciate the recommendation. It seems to be working out very well on this particular site. So thanks for that. You'll remember that as it exists, East Neal Street currently has 1, 2, 3, 4 different accesses between these 2 properties. This plan is proposing to clean up those existing access points. We're eliminating 3 of the existing access points on East Neal Street, consolidating them down into a more efficient access point, single access point on East Neal Street. We think that's going to be a major improvement for the folks that use East Neal Street on a regular basis. Brian, would you mind going to the second to last page of the land development plan? We've got a nice little landscaping layout there. You'll see that there is a considerable amount of landscaping going in on this site. So some very nice shrubbery with some decorative trees along the frontage here. A good amount of new street trees along East Neal Street, as well as a very dense arborvitae and shrubbery buffer from the neighboring property line. So there's a lot of time and effort put into making sure that this is going to be an attractive development when all is said and done. Also, there's going to be obviously additional stormwater that's going in for the site, and your typical sewer and water extensions, public water and public sewer are going to be utilized for this particular development. The applicant has been kind enough to actually extend the public water line, which, if you're aware, there is no public water and sewer along here right now. They're actually extending it down to the neighboring property owner over here as part of this development. So, doing a good deed. It's part of this particular development.
Is that so they don't hurt as well?
What's that?
Is that what the agreement was, to extend the water line?
Yeah, yeah. So we're kind of hoping that Aqua will continue to work with the applicant and continue that water line down East Neal Street for the other folks there, but we're at least getting the process started. So in addition to that, with this particular development, we are here tonight with Jim Sapala, who is the owner of the properties. We have Joe Rosella, who is our engineer for this particular application, and as well as Frank Tavani, who is our traffic engineer. So if you all have any questions or want to pick a professional's brains, by all means, we're here to discuss.
So before you get started with questions, just so you know what the airport night is, to see if you have any recommendations to the board of supervisors that you would consider doing the conditional use hearing. Your hearing is scheduled for November
The 10th, yes.
So you will not meet again prior to the hearing. So that's why they're here tonight. So the hearing is scheduled for November 10th. So if you have any suggestions that you want the board to consider while they're hearing testimony or looking at the plan, that's what we're here for tonight.
And this will come back before you for land development
Yes.
as well. Yes,
I think, yes,
Dr.
Gina,
White.
as part of your zoning relief, on the left side of the plan, the new building right there,
Mhm.
just to the upper part, you're putting the building closer in. There's a less of a setback. So
No, that's not accurate.
It's the same footprint.
It's actually, it doesn't look like it, but it's actually pulled back further on both this side of the property as well as this side of the property. This building is neither closer to this property line here or this property line. It's actually set back further than the existing building.
They proposed the building further away from the property line, but they're not meeting the ordinance because it's a new building, they get a variance for a new building that is non-conforming.
oh,
The
okay.
existing building is closer to the property line.
So the new building footprint is right there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And is there any feedback from the neighboring properties, property owners? Have they?
That's all industrial right there, Best Buy. Actually, a big dirt pile on the other side of the fence. Got a lot of equipment bumped up to it, but
I can show you some
they're
pictures, but I don't think
fine.
that's necessary tonight.
I talked to them, they're totally fine. And,
So it's also commercial, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and right next to me, them guys are totally fine.
Is that the Curdo property?
Yeah.
And you're gonna run that water line
I'm gonna
down?
give Curtis-
Does he had to pick that up and take it into his property?
No, I'm gonna do it for them.
That's nice.
Yeah. I mean, it really, it probably didn't impact as well, you know, but I'd rather than
Well, because the
I want to be a good neighbor.
The excavation could hurt as well.
It could,
Yeah.
but we ran it into him. He doesn't, it's not gonna cost him anything.
It's Curdo's Automotive, yeah.
There's no sidewalk along East Neal's, is there?
There is not.
Is there a curb to the property?
I don't believe there is, Joe.
So the entryways that you're eliminating, what creates those if there's no curb? There's just,
There's driveways.
There's
There's
driveway.
operating roads.
all right.
Gravel, one of them, gravel.
Okay.
They were all old buildings there, there was an old house there, 2 old buildings that were the repair facilities, that, were just falling. It's really going to dress that corner up across from the county building, and it's one of those sharp, I don't know if you guys have been past our dealership, but, and I don't know if you have the drawings or not. But
We do, Brian, well, he's exploring the existing
we have
driveways at the moment.
sketches, but it's going to be uniform like our dealership is.
Jim, come on up here.
It's a very modern look, and I think it really, give me a second. Oh, right there. So that's the service center, which is all employee areas. There's no customers back there. And the next one, that's service center. So that's Neal Street, and then that's our management building that we're going to be putting right there, moving our, accounting offices over there and stuff like that. My office will be over there. Because we really need the room in the main building. So we actually built that building and now it's too small. So, which is a good problem. But the main shop in the back is going to be for cars that are going to be like overnight, heavy engine work, transmissions or diag, stuff like that. And the main shop's going to be for maintenance, quicker, easy, equipment in and out. So it's not going to be a customer touch point area. So I think it looks good. I think it's really going to dress the corner up. Really looks sharp. We had the opportunity, unfortunately, Ann passed away. She was there for a lot of years, not veterinarian. She was there for over 30 years. And we had an opportunity to purchase that. And then that dovetailed in a conversation with Dental Works next door. The gentleman used to own that. His son owned the property. Dental Works rented from him. So he was like, so it worked out good for us. But I think it looks sharp.
Sidewalk, I think the sidewalks are going to require curb sidewalks.
Curbing is, once again, I can't comment on it, I haven't reviewed it, but when I do go into development with you, that may come up as discussion of commission used to. But I don't, they said they're coming back for the detailed land development. This is just for conditions for the conditional use of the property. This doesn't deal with getting into the details of the land development.
Neal Street's a pretty narrow road right there. Traffic. It's tight.
For the administrative building, towards the bottom of the screen, the notes in parking, was that noticed on the plan? So you're planning on having those in parking at that building?
It's separate.
Yeah, there's a separation between the parking area
Yeah,
and the
all
building
grass.
itself.
It's grass?
Yeah.
Will there be a curb there?
Yes.
Yeah.
6 or 8 inch?
Not sure.
Is there any pedestrian access where the parking is? No.
It's not for, it's for employees.
It's all employee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you still going to continue to use your building? Wilson?
You mean 806? South Market Street?
Yes.
Yes. That's our prep center. You park prep. You store wholesale parts down there before they go to the auction. Something like that. We actually still need more.
Good problem to have.
The one access on Neal Street, there were 3, now you're making it 1. Is that going to be a safety problem at all? Just having the one access?
No, and we can have our traffic engineer talk to that if you'd like a little bit, but because this is effectively a secondary access to the site, and it's access for employees. then we don't think that that's going to be an issue. And in fact, I believe that the existing driveway, the 4 existing driveways that are there, this is going to be wider than any single one of them in order to more safely accommodate
So it'll be
traffic in and out.
a 2-lane in and out.
Exactly. I think it's 24.
And that's how the front is too, at the front on 326, you know, on West Town Road, that's how that is, so.
Yeah,
So
so
it's 24 people.
the primary access at 326 West Town is going to be maintained. We're not changing that. We expect that most, if not all, customers will continue to use that. It's just that secondary access on Yield Street is going to be for those working on site on that part of the campus.
Steve, do you have any concern with fire access?
No, we've been there for fire calls already, we typically go in the front. And having the side access would be
Actually, it works, because you can get in and get out.
yeah.
So you're okay with one access on Hill Street instead of?
Yeah, I would,
You're
I
okay
mean, I'm
with
not
that?
going to be the fire marshal here, but I would be.
Okay.
Yeah, because there is none right there. There's none now, there's none.
Okay.
Dr. White, early on, I met with, before she retired, Andrea, when we were going to the, when we were going to go to her variances, and sat with her and talked about the building and access and the driveway. So at that point, we incorporated her recommendation into this plan.
How many EV charging stations are you going to be planning to add to your existing, or to this plan? I know you have at least 2 of them. Now, I think the level 3 chargers, but are you going to be adding any more?
No. No, we're going to keep the 2 that we have.
Are you going to add any more?
No, not planning. EVs aren't, I mean, on the purposes, so everybody's on away from manufacturing. 4 years ago.
Does Kia still make electric?
Oh, yeah, we still make it, but everybody's going it, but it's just it's cost manufacturers billions and billions of dollars. General Motors just put it off 1.6 billion today.
And do you also sell Hyundais?
No, just this. Just this.
I think it looks pretty good overall.
Thank you.
So are we going to see this again?
Yes, this is coming back before you again for land development. This is just for conditions, they go through the whole hearing process. Think about like Wawa went through the whole hearing process, they have to go through that too. Then they come back after the hearing with the conditions the board imposes. They're gonna have to change the plan. And if the plan, if they have to address any conditions of the conditional use in the plan, and if they do, they will resubmit that plan for land development. They come back to the land development process then.
So in regards to this, pretty much we could just recommend that we accept the use of this percent.
Yeah, if you don't have any recommended conditions, you can just say we recommend the board, just, you can't, you don't like.
It does require recommendation of the board, though.
No.
It doesn't.
It doesn't, you don't have to recommend any, if you don't have any conditions to recommend the board, your administrative board is you have no conditions, you would recommend the board consider those.
Okay.
I would like to see sidewalks.
That could be,
But that, isn't that more of a, that's.
that could be discussed in conditional use, because it would be part of the conditions.
So you're recommending sidewalks?
And curb action along Hill Street.
Is there other sidewalks that it would connect to on either end?
Well, you have to start sidewalks someplace. And
There's no
some
sidewalks
West
there
Town
anywhere.
already. So eventually, as these developments happen, you connect these sidewalks together, okay? But if you don't do them, well, you have the opportunity now, it's never going to happen.
Isn't that mostly business along there where you're not walking from one to the other? It's
Well, it is, but what's happened in Westchester is residential has developed on Union Street, for example. And, you know, when we built the firehouse back 25 years ago, sidewalks were like, the borough ended up paying for them, and required us to have them, because that's part of their salary. So what we see now is a lot of people walking, using the sidewalks around the firehouse, and actually all the way down Walmart Street. Okay, so they go up Union, they go down Walmart Street. So at some point, sidewalks become important. And my philosophy is if you don't put them in now, you're just not going to ever see them. Okay, so as these opportunities come up, and it is part of the sell that we recommend the sidewalks be put in. Particularly in areas that aren't, and they are in a commercial area, but they're also, there's a lot of development going on. People can't walk if they're on the sidewalk.
But are they, what's the likelihood that they're going to walk there? Is it, I mean, is it?
If you don't give them the opportunity to walk there, West Town Road is very dangerous. There should be sidewalks out all the way along West Town Road, because people do walk that past the cemetery. You cannot walk down there because, number one, there's no shoulder, okay? And it's a hill.
Well, you walk your own risk, yeah, right.
Okay, so you need to interconnect these. There is a sidewalk down the street on West Town Road they put in. I'm not sure what the business is, but it's across from Union Street. They did put a sidewalk in there. And again, my feeling is, personally, if you don't ask for it now, you're never going to see it.
So you're making a motion to recommend to the board that they consider adding sidewalks to property frontage as part of the condition.
We could ask, but I don't think we should require it.
No,
It's part of the south.
yeah, here's what I'm saying, Doug, is Steve's making a motion that the motion is for the planning commission to consider that the applicant provides sidewalks and curbing along Wheel and West Town Road. And it's a condition that you would recommend the board to consider. That's all it is, a recommendation the board to consider. The board can consider it during their testimony. The board can say Saldo's controlling it. The board could say they don't think it needs to be there because it's not there today.
But right now, it's not required.
It's in whatever they're required to do is in our saldo. This is not for, they're not here tonight with the saldo review. So I have not looked at the plans for the saldo review yet. But Steve wants to make a recommendation to the board that they consider the sidewalks from the sidewalk requirement as a condition during the conditional use.
To approve the application.
So right now, we have a motion from Steve to consider adding sidewalks as a condition of usage.
And for what it's, I'm sorry.
Do we need a second before we ask for discussion of that?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
For what it's
Andrew
worth, there
seconds.
is no existing sidewalk on Neal's. There is no connecting sidewalk on West Town Road either. And the dealership that did just expand a couple of years ago does not have a sidewalk in front of it. So there's no connection point
Yeah.
right now. So we would have a corner with a sidewalk that is not connecting to anything or connecting to anywhere. And from what I understand, this is not exactly a high pedestrian area of the township. This is not where folks are walking.
I have a little trouble with this in that it seems like it came up before in a similar situation where it was discussed if a property owner should to start the process of having a sidewalk. And it seemed the final resolution, it was too onerous on one property owner to do that without a coordinated effort to fill it in. I don't remember where that was, but I'm sure that took place.
Because if you put the sidewalks there at the corner of Neal and whichever other street is good, it's not, you're gonna create a point where people are gonna wanna cross there. And without the other coordination, that we just created a situation which isn't safe.
Well, there's a traffic light. Okay.
You don't have crosswalk lanes, you don't have any of that stuff. You
But
won't.
again, you have to start the process someplace.
But that
I get
can be
that,
put in
but
any time.
You can't start it to create an unsafe situation. I just think you're gonna create a situation where you're getting people thinking it's okay to cross that lane down, and there's no safety measures. If there was a coordinated thing with both sides, great, but it's not. We're asking one side to do it, and it goes nowhere. That's my concern.
So Corey, you're saying if it's put there, people will use it.
You're gonna make people feel that that is now a recognized place that they should cross.
And
that street.
then they'll use it, and then it's not on the other side, and then it becomes dangerous.
Right.
And before you get through this further, I'm going to ask their traffic engineer, Frank Devon, a question. This is the crossing at the traffic light for pedestrian access, that is controlled by PennDOT. If
pedestrian crossing.
That's true, and I came so close to not having to stand with
I just wanted to bring that up. So PennDOT could say that they will not allow pedestrian crossing at the traffic lane. As
Right,
well,
and
because
we put a
PennDOT
sidewalk
controls
in
the
there.
traffic signal permits.
We're leading people to believe that they can.
Yes. And just so, if this goes down that road, there's going to have to be a lot of PennDOT's going to get involved in this. And then it could balloon into a lot more, or PennDOT could just kill it. So, at this point, you may want to just say, well, let it go to Saldo, because the subdivision says sidewalks shall be required for all subdivision employment developments. That's 7224-2A. Let it go through Saldo. And you may not have to bring it up right now in conditional use.
That probably really is the best path forward. But just to kind of bring this all to a head, everything that you're saying, Steve, is true. It makes sense. You have to start somewhere. On the other hand, every application, you have to think about context. And what I've heard from the board is true, or from the commission members rather, is you really are surrounded by industrial uses, businesses. There's really no homes anywhere near this property. And you could put in all this infrastructure, but the question is, if you build it, will they come? And it seems very unlikely that anyone from the government services building across the street is going to walk over to the tire center that's just to the south of us, or even to this dealership for that matter. There's just going to be very limited opportunities for this infrastructure to be utilized. And you know, it could create some other concerns as well, like you've already said. So context is important. And I live in a community that was built 75 years ago and has no sidewalks. And I personally will love sidewalks because it's a residential community. I have my children going to school a half mile away. There the context makes sense. Here we have a cemetery about a half mile to the north. We have all these businesses, car dealerships. It just seems like it's not likely to be really utilized.
I just say, look at that. Look at that. I don't see no sidewalks. If you wanted sidewalks, Kia should have put them in, they should have demanded them that. But to me, it'd be a waste of money.
When Kia came through for the first building, it was not in our Saldo part. Now it is. So that's what I'm
Now it
saying.
is, but still, if you look at it, it doesn't make sense to me.
I will just preface a little more what you said. So 2 or 3 years from now, somebody buys the lot behind the Kia dealership. They put in a restaurant. Okay? So that ends up bringing people in, maybe walking to it across the street from the services building. I mean, you have to think long term. And that's why I'm pushing sidewalks. And that's why it's part of the South.
There's also cost of maintenance.
The one thing I would say is just timing on this. Like, I understand that, and I echo Brian's position on this. It's a valid discussion. I'm not sure it's a discussion for conditional use, since it is part of the Saldo. It is something that's probably going to come up during the land development process, during the land development review. I would ask maybe we defer decision on this until then and have a better idea of what the conditional use, if any, plan changes are going to entail. And maybe we can take a deeper dive into this and see what it would entail to put the sidewalk in, if it is even feasible, regardless of whether it's going to connect to anything, if it's feasible on the plan.
Are we ready to bring this to a vote?
Wait,
Oh,
is
yeah,
that-
motion.
you stay with that motion, or-
I'll withdraw, as long as it's opposed to the
Yeah,
South.
yeah.
Okay.
It has to be reviewed or it's Saldo because it's part of the subdivision ordinance that you said. So it will come up in the Saldo.
Okay. Thank you.
So your recommendation to the board is you do not have any conditions to recommend?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So minutes and conditions.
So we need to vote on that, I guess?
No,
or-
your minutes and
Okay,
conditions
all
like
right.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. See you in a Kia.
That's right. Come see me.
The next item, discuss land development application for 800 East Virginia Avenue, lands of Schramm.
put together the one you emailed me up?
We can probably start with an aerial from the line, Brian, and maybe just give everybody orientation here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Adams. I'm a member of 920 South Balmar Associates LP, the owner of the property that we're going to be discussing this evening. It's a 26-acre parcel in West Goshen on Virginia Avenue, 800 East Virginia. So Brian's going to pull up an area. I'm sure everybody's familiar with Shram. We bought the property almost 10 years ago from Shram, and they slowly started to move out of the property, and we've since backfilled it as a multi-tenant industrial park. So in total, if you want to zoom out just a little bit more. So this is the property here. You're probably familiar with, it used to be Able Rentals, is now United. On the corner, we have DVM, which is a electric utility infrastructure provider. They build switchgear for data centers and a handful of additional tenants. And we also own the corner here. This is Berlin Steel on the corner of Garfield and Lincoln. And we own this small little road here, Kimes Avenue. So in the back of Kimes is about a 5-acre portion of the property that was used for ancillary outdoor storage. There was a couple concrete driveways, really just an accessory use for the overall operation which Shram was in business. We were in front of the Planning Commission as well as the Board of Supervisors 3 years ago. So we have a fully recorded plan for a 51, plus or minus 51,000 square foot industrial building, which accesses off of Kime back here. And that building itself is more laid out for traditional industrial users. So think of 53-foot trailers, tractor trailers. We had 6 loading docks at 4 feet elevation for dock height. The building didn't really break well. And when we got into the details, just the soil imports alone was about 850 triaxles of dirt that we needed to kind of level that site out. So after about 3 years of marketing the property, really having challenges with the, probably a good time, Brian, if you could throw up that just overlay, I'll kind of just show. Okay. So we went through kind of a market study. We were marketing the property. It didn't break well. And really the users that we were seeing were similar to what we did at the Shram campus. So they were much narrower buildings, which allowed for smaller tenants. So if you think of HVAC, plumbers, electricians, you know, a lot of the service industries that we have in Westchester versus kind of bulk distribution. So what you can see here, this just to reorient you, this is Lincoln and this is Kime. So Kime is really just a small 12-foot access drive right now. We're widening that to 28 feet as part of the original submission. None of this has changed. So we worked with the neighbors. It's 28 feet. There's a sidewalk on the other side so that the children that are accessing the bus stop on Lincoln have safe access. And we also put a guardrail. So you have to pass through the guardrail to go onto the sidewalk, and then there's a fence. So that gets you back down to Lincoln. So this driveway has not changed since our initial submission. We did run sidewalks. Brian, if you wouldn't mind, I know there was just a pretty lengthy conversation on sidewalks, and I just feel it's worth just the aerial, if you wouldn't mind, just so everybody's aware. This is a very large property in existing condition. So if you look, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just drop in a street view in here. Sorry to be needy. Yeah, it'd be great, just on Lincoln. So you see here, this is perfect. So we were going to run sidewalks all along Lincoln, down Garfield, and all the way down Virginia, essentially the entire frontage of our property. So the only thing that we wanted to say, and we did this in our original submission, was we have no problem putting the sidewalk in. It doesn't connect anywhere, but we understand it's a sound ordinance. But in this particular case, there's about 6 heritage trees that have to be removed to put the sidewalk in. So when we originally came through, we suggested, and we've done this in other municipalities, is to put the money in escrow. So it's in escrow. The township can say, hey, we want to use it once we decide to tie in. Again, it was just a thought. Otherwise, we're going to put the sidewalk in. It's likely not going to get heavily used. And by the time somebody else ties in, it's going to be in pretty bad shape. But we're tearing down this live oak. This is a, I don't know if that's a willow oak or a red oak. There's another massive red oak. These are probably 36-inch plus diameter trees, and they continue all along. So if you go down Garfield and then up Virginia. So again, the plan's already recorded. We have every intent in doing so. if you spin around the other way.
So you gotta take the trees down and put the sidewalk?
Got to put the trees down, take the sidewalk. So again, but we were happy, it wasn't the cost of the sidewalk that we were worried about, it was just a matter of if it wasn't being utilized, we would put that money in escrow with the township, so they could say at any time, we want you to use that money, no different than you have an escrow for a job, that we want to put the sidewalks in now, if and when there was a time to connect. And then if you just cruise down a little further on Virginia, you'll see that they're mature trees that would be kind of right within the right of way. So again, really wasn't planning on discussing it, but it was just an opportunity that we've had in other municipalities to potentially just kind of earmark that money.
There is a way around several of those streets.
It's tough. I mean, we have to come on and kind of onto our property as part of the development. So, but it's already been fully engineered. It's there. I just wanted to point out that some of those trees, especially when you get closer on Lincoln, kind of impact it. If you go down a little bit on Lincoln, you can see these two trees.
Is it possible to put the sidewalk, is that what Steve asked, to go around the trees?
They have a fence, they have their security fence there on Rivers Road. Once you,
Or to put the sidewalk and stop it and have a
you
tree?
can't, once you start sidewalk, you can't stop it for the tree. You gotta get around the tree, and with the way these trees are and as close to the surface as the roots are, you're gonna be doing a lot of damage to the roots trying to get around it.
Yeah, and just talk about, just as a side note, as an owner of properties, I mean, taking a sidewalk on a private property becomes a liability, so it's really the township has to then sign off. They take on all responsibility if somebody were to get hurt on
Are
that
they old
side.
trees?
What's that?
Are they real old trees?
I mean, that's a massive tree. I mean, I want to say I said 36 inches, but I think, I was being
It's probably more like a
conservative.
40-inch tree.
Yeah, it's a pretty large tree. But anyway, that wasn't the point. I wanted to give you guys a heads up that we do have full sidewalks in our plan. And there's also an additional storage lot that you might have seen in the application that is on, right actually in front of Able. So this little grass area here was additional outdoor storage space for both United and other tenants at the building. So none of that's changed. All the stormwater has been fully designed. We have an MPDS permit. The only thing that's really changing, if we just jump back to that overlay, is the dimensions of the building and the grading. So what you can see here, this was the previous building, kind of more of a square shape. So that building's roughly 315 feet deep by 170 feet wide. And then the new building is much skinnier. So what that allows us to do is to kind of chop the building up into smaller tenants. And this new building doesn't have any loading docks. So you wouldn't really have the capacity like this building. This had 6 loading docks in the rear of the old building. And that was for more your traditional 53-foot trailers. And then there was also emergency egress that connects to the existing campus right here in the back. So primary entrance off Kime and then emergency egress off the back. So really, we're here tonight. Again, we have the fully recorded previous plan. We'd like to build what you see here in red. This particular plan is roughly, I think, 6,700 square feet larger than the previous building, but again, geared more towards the service industry. So other things that might have changed, and we did get Brian's letters, since we dropped the site to try to get it to balance. Our stormwater infiltration testing was too high, so we had to go back in and do the stormwater infiltration, which worked, so we redesigned the stormwater. But again, as you enter the property from here, this is really the bulk of the changes.
With your new proposed smaller, slimmer building, what's going to be the setback on the western side of that proposed building?
Right here?
To the residential properties along Kine Street?
So that's a great question. So we actually bought this property here on the
Yeah,
corner.
right now it's vacant, so what do you plan on doing with that?
So right now, as part of the agreement, we would have to deed restrict that property for future residential. So it's actually zoned industrial. So all of these properties on Kimes are zoned industrial. A couple have been converted to businesses. But this particular site right now is just an existing ranch home that's zoned industrial that we would deed restrict.
Did you guys go to zoning hearing for that?
We didn't have to go. We did not go to zoning here.
Well, you went to the zoning hearing, would request variance from the setbacks from the residential properties, and the zoning hearing board, I believe they denied it.
So it was a 100-foot setback from residential uses. So again, the width of this lot's only 70 feet. So if you bought that property, the entire property would be, non-compliant from a zoning perspective. So what we did was we bought this property here, deed restricted it for residential. So the only way we could actually use that for residential would have to go back in to the zoning hearing board to request a variance. So this was essentially a 100-foot non-disturbance buffer, but again, this is industrial in the rear, this is industrial to the left. So we are 43 feet from the edge of the building to the, I believe it's roughly 43 feet, I'm just going off of memory.
The zoning officer and the solicitor did review this, and it's my understanding they determined that that 70-foot deed restricted plus the 43 feet of the property gives them 100-foot from the closest residential use,
Right.
which is this property here. This is the one that's being used as residential. This is a deed restricted property, so that drive feet to the building.
And it'd be also, just as part of that, we went ahead and proactively just installed a new fence. So that's a 6-foot cedar fence that we installed along that property line.
All right, so again, what is going to be the distance from the proposed building to the lot that is being occupied by residents of the Wallace town?
In excess of 100 feet. So it would be 123 feet roughly.
Have you had discussions with the residents along Clark Street about this change in plans?
So when we originally submitted the plans, we met with the Wallaces. This particular plan, when we installed the actual fence, but no, the reconfiguration of the building, we have not. So, but Kimes has not changed.
Is there going to be access to the other property? Now, the reason I ask that is because I've actually driven the fire truck up in that corner where the building is, and you kind of get blocked. You got back out.
So what we did was this was like an emergency egress when the grading was much higher. So it was a pretty steep grade. I want to say it was 8 or 9%. Right. So this actually will flow into the property now.
So you can't drive.
Correct. Yep. So that actually helps out the overall campus back here as well.
Is there a fire hydrant in that area? Are you putting one up there?
I think one of the fire marshals mentioned that we had one and he would like an additional one.
Fire hydrant in this end of the building, and because of the length of the building, there needs to be a second one further down. That's one of the
Okay, I didn't see that.
fire marshal's comments. It's the last, in my statement, the last, the memo right there. It says,
Oh, okay,
that's
gotcha.
the fire marshal.
Okay, good.
Back, he was the second one to back entrance.
Yep.
And the initial fire hydrant right now is the way, because it wasn't moved, it's still sitting here in the middle of the ground.
So how we move that one?
It's gotta be, that's what the comments relocated when the plan was put it out. It's where it was the previous plan, and now with the change to this side over here, it's sitting in the middle of the house. So that was one of the comments from the farmer.
And how many potential tenants do you think are going to go in there?
So the
What
build.
would be the maximum allowed?
So, I mean, a drive-in door is roughly 14 feet wide. So if you had, a man door plus maybe a small little office area, I'd say anywhere between 20 to 40 feet width by 100 feet deep. So, you're 4,000 to 8,000 square feet potentially, depending on how many tenants we would have there. So we want to be able to accommodate as many tenants as possible, but I would say the average size tenant that we see in this marketplace is between 4,000 to 6,000 square feet. So, I mean, for somebody to take 2,000 square feet, essentially, let's just say the minimum is 40 feet width, you'd have to demise the building down the middle, which we really don't want to do. So I would say, 4,000 is probably the target.
How will emergency vehicles like a fire truck be able to circulate around the proposed new plan you have here?
That's a great question. So there was a comment in the letter. So when we originally did the plan, the building was actually banked into this hill. So now that you would just circulate around the building. So this driveway continues around. It's kind of hard to see. I don't know if there's a better plan, Brian. So you have full circulation around the building.
Did the fire marshal look at that?
Yeah, commented on it.
Just really wanted a routing plan.
He needs an apparatus training that
Yeah.
to prove that it works. He thinks it can work, but he needs to prove it works. Let me see.
It's just why Brian's looking for that. Very similar to Lincoln and the Tenants Park, if you've been back in there. kind of the width of those buildings and kind of how many tenants they have. Very similar. There you go.
So here's the drive aisle, it's full, all the parking is in the front of the building, open drive here, and this is all, the whole area I'm moving my report, this is all asphalt around the building. So this is where they have all the drive-in doors going to be in the back. And there's, the fire marshal believes the fire truck can circulate, but they have to provide a plan to prove that, that's my comments. But yeah, so everything from this point out was kind of nothing has changed from previously approved and recorded plan. That plan was recorded and approved just as I started at the end of 2022. So it was recorded in early 20, I think January 2023 is recorded.
Yeah, pretty close to November 22.
Rick retired and I started is when it got recorded. But it kind of went through the approval process under Rick while I was working here. But he handled that review. But, so yeah, so the previous plan had an above ground basin back here with the buffer. Now the stormwater is multiple underground stormwater beds. There's a couple of comments earlier about some discrepancies with the plan and the report that will be straightened out. So that's where we're at. So I know they're here tonight. They're here tonight to see if you, it's completely up to the planning commission if you would like to make a recommendation, a conditional recommendation to the board. I didn't put anything in my letter because it's things that I could request from you.
I think it's a good use of the property.
Thank you.
Because Lincoln Avenue, that industrial park seems to be a popular, a lot of tenants.
Yeah, it's been again, it's a lot of industrials have been built over the last 5 years during the, kind of the boom of the big box industrial, but they were larger buildings. A lot of folks aren't catering to the service and the trades, and Westchester has a ton of that, and a lot of those buildings are either getting knocked down or converted to other uses. So we felt very confident just based on our existing tenant base that we'll be able to fill this pretty quickly. And again, hopefully some of the tenants are a little bit bigger, but at the end of the day, it allows them to continue to grow into those smaller spaces and expand.
Knock the wall out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and the rest of the industrial park there is large buildings.
Yep.
So you kind of cover both sides of the one.
This is the exact same width as the building. Actually, no, this is only 60 feet deep. So this is 40 feet bigger, but yeah, again, I think we have 3 tenants in that building.
The north side of this used to be, I think, Transmaterials on the other side. That's not developed at this point. That would border, I believe.
So this is Lincoln Independence right here to the east?
Yeah, I'm talking about this side. Yeah, so right now that's undeveloped, right?
There's multifamily to the...
Okay, multifamily. So we're not going to have a problem with lighting or anything like that over there.
I mean,
border of the...
I think we, on the landscape plan, we've shown it as much tree buffering that we could put in there. But again, I think the other plan, which we had the loading dock in the back, this will be a wall in the back of the building that we'll only really have access except for a drive-through. So you'll have building lighting, but most of the parking will be on the long sides of the building, kind of opposite of the...
Oh, yeah,
the lighting plan complies.
But yeah, it kind of runs in the same orientation to this. So, it's really on the back side of the building, more of a drive around.
So Brian, is this discussion just about the use? So
no, they're here tonight. Matt is here tonight to request a recommendation from the planning commission.
Yes,
So a motion would just be to proceed with this plan?
Motion will be for recommendation to the board. If you feel the plan is in a position planning-wise, because...
do they have to come back for another?
Conditions?
Well, hang on, let me, go ahead, Doug.
Do they have to come back for land development?
This is land development. They're in front of you for the land development. So they were approved with Rick, and you guys went through and approved it with the previous plan. I reviewed the plan with the resubmission, and I issued a letter. My letter is dated October 9th. And most of my comments are technical based that are not going to change the layout, not going to change the plan for, I'll say, planning purposes. It's technical stuff they have to clean up in the storm design or provide more information in the design so it can be built. There's nothing that I put in mind that I can think of in my letter that would change the layout.
And our engineer has reviewed it and has no issues complying with all of the outstanding comments from both the fire marshal as well as Brian's letter.
Okay, so if this is a final recommendation, And I have some questions about the no parking at the west side of the building. Is it curbing, bollards? What do you have there?
So this type of building, given that you need the flexibility, this is on grade with the parking. So you could potentially have a drive-in door on the front of the building, and some of these parking spaces, could potentially be relocated. So it'd be very difficult for us to have curbing along the front there. I don't think it's shown as a curb, Brian, on the front.
Is there a pedestrian sidewalk?
The sidewalk starts here. I'm pretty sure it's on grade.
Because it's flexible space.
Just because so if you can picture this, if every 40 feet or every 26 feet, you're gonna have a big drive-in door. So those cars would be coming in and out of the building. So if somebody had a trailer or equipment, they would be pulling into the building. So the facade of the building would be multiple drive-in doors.
But then your plan shows no zone parking spaces all along there.
Correct. We call this like a flex building. Just until you identify the tenants, you don't really know where their drive-in doors need to go.
So they get approvals based on.
So you keep the entire facade, kind of at grade.
Give me a second.
I'm almost positive it's at grade.
No, you have a curve there.
Is it? You got there.
Yeah.
That's just,
no, it's 10,
yeah.
it's a 10 foot, yeah, it's at grade. There's no curb along the front of the building. So they could do drive-in doors, drive all the way through the building, like we have out here at the Public Works Building.
Yeah, so Dr. White, like if you had a tenant that wanted 4,000 square feet, the smallest bay that we could do roughly, you would have, and you wanted to be a drive-through, let's just say you had a trailer and you had equipment on it, you would be able to rent a space where you could pull through and then pull out the other side.
So you're going to have garage doors all along there?
Potentially.
If somebody comes in and doesn't need it, they're not gonna have that, they'll have problems.
So this building would be built on a speculative basis, but again, you essentially have knockout panels on every, column bay as to where you would want a door. So if somebody wants a door, you add the door. So again.
So is there going to be a sidewalk, like pedestrian people walking along the front of that building, in front of those cars?
I mean, I can't imagine, your space would, so if you zoom out just a little bit.
Sorry. You want to go more?
There you go. So one of these bays might be only, this is rough, but maybe 50 by 100, say it's 5,000 square feet. You would have a drive-in door and a man door next to it. I'm trying to think of a similar product. Lincoln Independence is similar.
That's sidewalks,
I'm thinking, what's the one over off of, by Tee It Up Golf, in the back of Haggerty. So again, to have the ability to drive through the building is what kind of critical.
Are you going to have, Brian, is there anything in our code that's going to require some sort of protection? If they're going to have?
Well, each of the spaces is going to have to meet building code requirements for access if it's a public space. If a plumber for his business rents a space, it's the plumber and his employees, and they're pulling their trucks there at night to protect them. There's not customers coming there. So this may be more of a situation where it's a tenant by tenant fit out for each space, and each space as they fit it out has to meet the building code.
The building, so is there?
There is requirement of the building code for pedestrian access and ADA compliance. But as far as what we can require on a spec building that they're looking to drive through, I don't know what we can require because you have to give the owner the availability to use the flex space.
So is there anything wrong with requiring to put parking bumpers or something to just prevent an accidental somebody driving into that building?
I guess you could phrase it this way, and I'm just spitballing here for you, is that there be some sort of barrier placed in front of parking spaces that are at grade to predict, because you can't put a barrier in front of a garage door.
Correct, yes.
But other may have some sort of parking block or something to allow, to abolish the parking block, some sort of a pedestrian safety barrier provided.
We have no issue with that. We can even put bollards around the man doors. It's just a matter of the drive-in door. I mean, it's a 14-foot wide door. So
The driving door, I understand.
So, yeah, any nose-in parking along the front that's not in front of a drive-in door, we'd be happy to put a parking, curb stop in front of that, and then bollards around the man doors.
Okay, but we can't.
Well, he's saying he's agreeing to.
We have no
So
problem
if you
with
make that
that.
a condition of your recommendation that they provide parking blocks and bollards at the man doors.
So that way, if somebody were to drive, and it would be, so the office area would be where the man door is, it would be just right up on either side of the man door, so a car couldn't push through that door where the office is. If they were to run into the building in front of the driving door, they'd be going into the warehouse.
Okay, I understand where they're going to be driving
Yes,
at the building.
so he's offered to put in bollards at the man doors, which is the regular door you would open to walk in the building if you're an employee. With
Okay,
the office
what
area.
about the regular parking spot?
So we could do that as well with curb stops.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to put bollards there because, again, if you had to add in the drive-in door, so all the man doors we could do bollards at.
Okay, as long as there's some sort of building, pedestrian protection.
They're willing to put in bollards where they can to protect the building, but they're limited to where they can put them based upon the style of building it is.
And just to even further go on that, so we typically put them on edges of the drive-in doors and then in front of any utilities or anything like that. I mean, you probably see it a bunch, just so people aren't banging into the edge of the door
Right, I
frames.
understand.
So
I'm talking about cars parking in, nose in out the building. I'm concerned about cars accidentally crashing into the building.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm concerned about. So our code doesn't require anything? We don't have anything in our code to do that? To require that? And can we? And you're saying we can't do it because of our building codes?
It's the style of building they are proposing. We can't say you can't put a garage door in because you got to protect the building. We can't tell somebody.
No, I'm not saying that. Just wherever they have nose in parking, they have to protect it.
So they may have some space where they, I'm trying to think, somebody may put something in there that they need the man door for ventilation or just to open up the space.
Right.
They're going to park in front of it still because they need the spaces for the daily use.
Right.
So if they open the man door and we tell them they're going to park there, they got to block it, now they can't get in the building. We can't require the applicant to stop access to the building.
Right, that's what, yeah.
So you're just trying, you're asking for them to provide a barrier where appropriate, where they're able to, where there's nose in parking.
Wherever there's nose in parking, put a barrier.
And you can make that a conditional use.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying as far as if there's a drive-in door there, you're okay with somebody parking in front of it. So
Yeah, because it's going to be, you see
It's
all the time
gonna
in
be
a
hard to
repair
get.
shop, the doors open, the guys pull up in front of it.
You can't put, I understand. If you're going to have a garage door, that's the man door thing, right?
No.
Man doors, you grab the door, open it, and you walk in.
That's where you'd be working inside the space.
Okay, you can't block the man door, that's right.
Right,
But
but you can put a bollard
I put
inside.
bollards there.
when you're side, and then where there's just regular wall, and you're going to have a nose in parking, I want a barrier.
Okay, so
You
I think
just
it's-
said a curb stop. That's where the barrier is.
Yeah, so it'd be a curb stop, but again, if somebody said I needed 2 drive-in doors, it would be 14 feet, there'd be a 3-foot space and a 14-foot space. So again, that's why, I'm not trying to dodge the question as far as until we identify the tenant, any sections of building that would allow for nose-in parking dedicated, we're happy to put a curb stop.
Okay.
But again, a lot of the bollards, there's going to be bollards on each corner of the man doors as well as the drive-in doors. So if you think of somebody backing in with a trailer, you don't want somebody backing in and hitting the building. So again, usually every corner of a drive-in door has a bollard as well.
Okay.
Can't those bollards be removable? You have it like a peg?
Yeah, they're just not, I mean, I just think, that, when you do it, you would want to, set them in concrete.
Sure, permanent.
Yeah.
The only time to put a removable bollard is in like emergency access drives. Steve can drive that with his lights on.
And so, yeah, and once you have the drive-in door in, it's not like we're taking a drive-in door out to lease the space the next time over. Like, even if they didn't need the door, they're still getting the door, so that it would be set permanently for that.
Can we make a motion?
That's completely up to you guys.
I would also like to see, I know maybe I'll get enough talk on it, but sign. I'm just gonna throw it out there now.
Go ahead.
And hopefully we can work around the trees that are there and find a solution to that. But for a couple of reasons. Number one is, there is our residence at the other end of the lake. Okay? So people do walk along with that. And the other thing is, there's a lot of sports activities, training fields there with Henderson, and people park there. And there's no place to go on either side of the road. The school district should have been sidewalks. They want to park there, so they didn't want to. But there's a lot of people that have on those streets. So I think that sidewalks.
Yeah, if you notice, I did not comment on the sidewalks because they're code compliant, but I'm saying, sidewalks come with a cost. The cost is environmental.
I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware that when these trees started going down, they were like, what are you doing? So at the end of the day, if we can work together, we're happy to put a note on the plan, then we can reach out to.
That would be something for the board to consider as a
Yeah.
condition when they consider conditional approval about those trees.
And what about the escrow idea? The escrow idea?
So,
You propose?
what I'm talking about is there is other townships do this. We do not have a program here where it's set up, there's nothing set up financially for this, where the developer, some townships do is as a fixed fee in lieu of per foot of sidewalk you're supposed to put in, you can just pay it. And the township puts it in a bank to do a sidewalk project, whether or not it's turned on up to the township, or in this case, maybe providing an escrow account to the township, which I guess the township will hold definitely a cash escrow account, and then decide if we're going to put it in or we're going to put it not.
See, that makes a lot more sense. It was like Kia, if we did that to them, we hold that, and once we're in a position where we can connect that sidewalk or add the other components, we then use that money to put those things in. That makes sense for us to require people putting in sidewalks to nowhere right now. Doesn't.
That you can't come back later and put a sidewalk.
Yeah.
You have the money.
That condition existed now, we did that.
So the idea of the sidewalk escrow account is the developer of the property puts the money up for what it costs to put the sidewalk along the frontage. And then it sits in the account, and then you get
Once
interest
you
on
have
it.
the other connected pieces, you activate also
So
escrow.
my question is, so when do you have enough connecting pieces? I mean, is it going to be,
Well, that's the
that's
problem
another,
now.
so if you don't start a connecting piece, you never get it. You never get it connected. So
No, but then you'll get just set sidewalks, nowhere.
it's just one thing.
I agree in this particular one, given the residence to the west and the school fields there, it probably does make sense, but we've had properties in other municipalities where you are building essentially a sidewalk in the middle of nowhere, and it just, when you do connect, it could be 20 years later. Now, our sidewalk's terrible, and you're putting two brand-new sidewalks next to it that weren't going anywhere we going. So again, it was just kind of piggybacking off the conversation you guys had, but we'll just continue.
It's code compliant with the sidewalks, but there is, in this case, environmental conditions to consider. Trees, I know there's a whole, the SAC is working on a heritage tree ordinance as well to not allow trees of that size to be taken down. So you've got different sites.
It's kind of crazy though, because eventually these trees die.
I was gonna say, what's the health of those trees? That's taken into consideration.
Yeah, so what I'll do, we can have an arborist go out there and do a full analysis on some of these trees, because again, if we're doing sidewalks, we've got to rip out all the roots, because to lay it a flat sidewalk. So we can have an arborist go out there and kind of give us a kind of a useful life on each one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can
if
see
you want
for
to put that
this
as a
project,
condition.
connecting the school
Yeah.
campus, they have the baseball fields at the other end, they have.
this is a
the
pretty healthy
Fernhill-
tree right now
Fernhill,
here.
Yeah,
I mean,
Fernhill Elementary.
Yeah, there's a lot of interconnection
Yeah.
there.
But this is
People
also
do walk in the street.
You can see it now it's green. So
It's a single isolated tree, it's not like a nice row of trees.
there's two big ones, there's two right
Yeah,
here.
it's quite.
There's a couple big
If they're
ones.
removed, is there plans to replace?
What's that?
If they're removed, are there plans to replace in my time? Like granted, they won't be heritage trees, but you'll be replacing
So you have,
Our ordinance only.
you have ordinance that says if you're doing construction activities that
Yeah.
disturb trees that are supposed to be maintained, then you would have to replace those. But again, it's like a 1.5 inch caliber tree, I think.
I think it's
So
3.
you wouldn't be able to replace
It's a
that.
half a tree per tree, so our ordinance only requires a half a tree per tree. So you're taking down 2 trees outside, they put up 1 and replace it.
And it wouldn't be long, right?
So if you take down 2 trees, you just replace it, under that lot.
Yes, our ordinance, current ordinance is half a tree per tree to take down.
Could you make that conditional use, 1 for 1?
There's no conditional use of this. This is land developmental, this is a land development application. There's no, they don't need any zoning relief, they don't need any conditional use. This is a use by right. Like I said, the previous plan, which was before you in 2022, one of the sheets.
Yeah, so they show it as to be removed.
Yeah, give me a second, let me just, I have, because the plans, when
There you go.
Andy sends them over, are all individual sheets. But you can see the sidewalk goes here, it goes all the way up and continues through. There's sidewalk on all the plans. So I have individual sheets, I don't have, if I put them together, it got so big, I couldn't handle it, so I just left it as single sheets. Which probably what he did too. But
This kind of flows into like Montgomery Avenue. Montgomery, a lot of people walk on it at night even, and it's very dangerous. When the Scheller development happened with that corner, should have been sidewalks, there was nothing. And I'm just trying to, if there had been sidewalks there, then all of a sudden you'd have that
Yeah,
connection.
there's even release gates from those fields where the kids just keep falling out.
Right.
Like when there's an activity, they just go right across the street in groups. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm getting at this interconnectability eventually, and that if you don't ask for it now, even though you may have money later, it's not gonna happen. We won't see it, but that's just,
I understand and appreciate what you're saying, Steve. My question to the overall planning commission is how do you feel as a planning commission about the sidewalks and trees? Because I can tell you from an engineering standpoint, the trees have to come out and put the sidewalk in. You can't get the sidewalk in the right without taking them out. We cannot require as a township a private property owner to put public sidewalk on private property. Because there's a whole liability issue, everything else that comes along with it. It's different than putting it right.
I think the trees along Virginia, okay?
It's only one.
There's one, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they all have to come out along Virginia, maybe, because I think
I think just the one, I don't know if you
I don't think we gotta take them all out. I think maybe the big one is that one, this one.
These 2 oaks for sure.
Yeah, this is like Lincoln.
Yes, if you went down to Virginia, you'll see, you might as well go Garfield, other way. Yep, there's an evergreen, that should be outside it.
That's should go get in front of that.
Yep, and then just one on Virginia as you head down.
That one's far.
Yeah, that's outside the fence, that one. That's a
This
nice,
one right
that's a
here.
nice tree. I think it's a
You
sycamore.
can see how close it is to the road. And they have to provide a 5-foot wide sidewalk and they have to provide it with the road.
I have a question about sidewalks.
Just turn it around.
There is space to walk, it's grass. It's not that there's not space to walk. So having the sidewalk, yes, it's easier on your feet, but does it really guarantee safety? Because if it's not going to be,
Well, you're not walking in
You need to make it accessible to everybody.
Yeah,
But
but let me explain. Sidewalk also typically, and I'm not sure I would need to have a real close to the plan, but it also, that's where you're talking about safety, you got to move the curb line. There's curb doing on Rosedale, that's why our Rosedale project is so expensive, so we've got to elevate with it. Now, if you could put the grass strip, where you have the grass strip, and then you have the sidewalk behind it, you don't need to put a curb.
that's right, so you need a curb line.
If the sidewalk is where they have the pavement.
That's, yes.
But if you offset it back with the grass strip, which I believe is what you guys did.
I think this is 3 feet offset.
Yeah,
of
the
the
3 feet offset, so you don't, because putting the curb line out here then becomes a massive project because there's no, they gotta do infrastructure for streets then as well for stormwater.
Okay.
Which takes it from just a sidewalk project to a complete streets project, which is not reasonable for this application.
That's understandable. So even though the sidewalk is going to go into the right way, the tram is still responsible for maintaining?
Yes.
Correct.
Just like if you have a sidewalk in front of your house, you have to maintain it. Anybody has a sidewalk in front of your house in the township, you're responsible to shovel it, you're responsible to maintain it, you're responsible to repair it.
Every curve, all of it.
They have to shovel in the winter, if it cracks, if it breaks, if somebody trips and falls, survival, the whole bit.
Yes. So that's why these trees have to come out, because they can't put the sidewalk in and maintain it, because the sidewalk will be right for you.
Has anyone died there because of the lack of sidewalk?
I have no idea. I can't tell you.
What I usually see people walking up this grass strip.
Okay.
Maybe Mr. Crum mentioned that a lot of them in sports fields, but I think intentionally don't have many gates on this side, but people do still walk, so I've seen them. And they run all the time in the street. I don't know, even if they had the sidewalk, they run.
Like Steve was saying, that they should have planned better on the other side, and put the fields in and way down into the fields.
Yeah.
To connect to the high school.
That's something that ship sailed whenever they did that.
Yeah.
So,
It's only making an improvement over there.
yes.
Do they still call them Tram Field?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I played soccer over there. We ran all over the place. There were no sidewalks. We didn't know from anything, and no one died. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
So the plan is compliant with providing sidewalk, but by providing sidewalk, they gotta take down at least three,
Yeah.
what the SEC would consider heritage trees.
I would rather keep the trees personally.
So,
Right now, we have a motion.
Can we wrap this up?
Supervisors
Yeah.
to approve the changes with the condition of providing parking blocks at man doors, curb stops at vehicle parking spots, and condition of putting in the sidewalks.
the sidewalks are already in, they're on the plan. It's, the question is, how do you feel as a planning commission about taking out the trees to put the sidewalk in? That was the question. Not that they're
Yeah,
not
so
putting
this
the
is just
sidewalk.
reinforcing that putting in the sidewalks.
They're already in the plan, so you don't have to reinforce it.
No, yeah, it was just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll have our arborist out there that, I'll try to get him out there the next 2 days just to get an
I
idea.
think that would be a
Condition of
big
the-
factor, 'cause they're not healthy.
That makes it easy.
So the
They're not
commission could
healthy.
be,
Yeah.
address the comments in my October 9th letter, the October 7th zoning letter, and the October 8th fire marshal review. There's three conditions. Your condition about the parking, and then the condition for the sidewalk would be pending the evaluation of the trees by the arborist evaluation report of the three large trees to be approved for sidewalk installation. If they come back and it says like, oh, they're healthy, we don't have any issues, you've probably got years left in them. I'm speculating, because we'll stand in here, look at them, and
This one's in good shape. That's a sycamore, I
when
believe.
you look at it here when they're green, they look pretty nice.
And that's not my impression of Steve after, but my impression you were after, regardless of healthy trees.
You're okay, get rid of them, put sidewalks in. Pave the road, take down the trees and pave the road.
I didn't say that. Say making it safer for people to walk, not walk in rain and not walk in mud and grass.
You do have to replace them. Just looking at height trees.
It's the heritage nature of it. That's what I wanted to just.
I mean, we could ask you also, part of the sidewalk, removal, tree removal, if you put a couple of trees in.
I mean, the sidewalk's always going to be,
You don't want to
the trees will eventually.
They're not ordinance. Sorry, let me just say one thing about the trees, Steve. Our ordinance requires a certain distance off the street line because it breaks up the road, and with what he's proposing with the 3-foot strip, there's not enough road behind the sidewalk, in front of it. And depending on where they're at, there may not be enough space to get it in between that fence line and the sidewalk.
Yeah, we might be able to try to squeeze them in there. I was going to see where the end of that storage lot is, but try to keep it in line with this street, which is inside the fence line.
Yeah.
Try to get a couple more trees in there.
So if our recommendation is silent on the sidewalk, it stays.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything about the sidewalk, because the sidewalk's in there.
Unless we
the trees
don't,
come out.
then we can.
The board could say, no, we want to keep the trees, and not the sidewalk in.
Are we ready for a motion?
But I want to say so.
But I think you as owner are trying to preserve as much aesthetic to the property as possible.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't like to take down heritage trees if we don't have to, but at the same time, if there's a way collectively to figure out a way to make it work, we just, in our experience, we can't take the liability of somebody coming and getting hurt on a sidewalk that's outside the right of way. I know we've run into that issue before, so.
If you got 16 feet up to the fence, maybe you can use it 3 feet, 5 feet, or maybe.
Well, he was saying like during the fencing, they run trees along the back, along the side of the fence, like this one tree back here. That tree's inside the fence, so they may be able to run a tree line along the inside of the fence. Because it's still on the property, it doesn't have to go back where it was, because it's on the property. So we're going to lose the tree line.
Well, this one maybe too, here, this.
This one right here?
Because you see the curb line?
The curb line's all the way back here, yeah, you may, this tree
Yeah, that's
may
going
go down,
too.
you can't get the sidewalk through that.
And that one probably.
Yeah, because they got a unit curb line there, in that one spot, so we may lose those two trees. So you're have to think, I would suggest before the board meeting, come up with a exhibit plan for what trees are actually going to come out the size of them, and which are all that to the board, because I know at least one of the board members, if not two, are might be looking in the direction of business safety trees.
So again, I'll throw this out there. If you want to speak with the solicitor about coming up with a creative way to get us comfortable with liability, if there's something that we can do, again, we haven't figured that out yet, but somewhere if we had to run that, you know, in kind of our setback area on our property, but the township took responsibility for liability as long as we maintained it. Again, I'm not trying to overcomplicate, but I would love to save them and be able to
But if
figure.
those trees are as big as that.
It's going to be pretty far.
You're not going to do it without.
Because everybody's seen the sidewalk.
If you look here,
And it's just
the tree roots are pretty much out as far as on the trees.
Yeah.
So you're looking up, like, this one is not as far back on the.
Here's another idea. Could we run it on the other side of the right of way?
The other side of the street?
I mean,
Over here?
that's where the poles are.
You gotta get behind the poles then.
Yeah, that's not
You got
gonna work.
some, you got some, you could, yes, you could propose it over there in the right of way instead.
Do you own that property?
No,
You say it'd be in the right of way.
In the right of way.
So we could pay to do it over, I just don't, I mean, again, if you don't want to see those trees
Well,
go.
I'm saying that would make sense. Put it on the other side of the street, if you could do that.
You could do that, if you could
be
make
the
it work.
What about the school district? Maybe we could go on their side too, potentially.
If you could run it down the
Which
property
would make sense,
frontage.
that's what the yards are.
And then, yeah, you just jump over and then you come down along the fence where the, again, I gotta check out the grades and everything, but then we
But
save
how
all
does
those
that play
trees.
with responsibility of the carrier who takes care of it?
It would be the property owner on that side of the street. They could enter into a maintenance agreement with them. Because that's what we did with the Rosedale sidewalk. There's a maintenance agreement with the church to maintain the sidewalk across the cemetery. So the church there is going to maintain the sidewalk for the cemetery. So they could enter into a maintenance agreement to maintain it across the street. There was spitballing
Yeah, if you just sort of, can you cruise up to the corner there at Garfield? I just want to see how much space is over there. Because I'm sure the school district would love to have a sidewalk. At the end of the day, I mean, you know, hopefully
Yeah,
it would take on some.
This is going to be, I don't know how much space is
Yeah.
between the pole and the fence over there.
Yeah.
If you have enough room to get it through there. I mean, that's inside the pole, that's inside the fence line. You're really tight on that. You're gonna need just running a curb, running a sidewalk right against the asphalt.
I never just thought, I was just trying to come up with something that maybe it's just that section, but
Yeah.
let us look at it. And we'll also look at the health of the trees, because if they're not, you know, in great shape and they're diseased or whatnot,
Yes,
only
some
have a
of them are
limited.
nice, but some of them are not aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
They've been cut, they've been hit,
Okay.
they've been wired.
So you're just gonna stay style on the sidewalk. Because it's in the plan. You're going to evaluate the trees and evaluate potentially
Before the supervisor meeting.
maybe flip it to the sides of the street with the sidewalk in the right of way, plug in their side and leave it there, do that. Save the trees, that may be something we could discuss with the board. So what is, let's.
Let's
before
put
we
that
get-
together in a
So
motion.
I'm assuming, I mean,
So that
we just have meeting those three conditions of the letter along with providing the parking, the parking spots.
Yes.
So,
Is there any other conditions anybody else would like to discuss before the formal motion is made?
Okay, just to be clear, on the condition you have for the parking, the nose in parking, where there's going to be a nose in parking spot, we're going to have a bumper?
We have
Curb
it
stop.
listed as providing parking bollards at man doors and curb stops at the open parking spots.
Is it too much to ask to have a curb stop and a bollard?
No, yes, it is.
Yeah,
You think it's too much?
Yes.
Because the bollard has to be set, right? So then if you added a drive-in in the future, you'd have to remove the bollard. So the curb stop, at least they're demountable. You can pick them up and move them with a forklift. The man doors, though, would be set because your office space and your bathrooms would be set at that. If somebody needed additional warehouse space and they needed another drive-in,
It needs
there might be
flexibility.
bollards in front of it.
Okay, so the parking bumper would be effective in doing its job and preventing a car from going into the building.
So again, I don't know what I guess it's 60 feet typically, 2 parking spaces in a drive aisle. So you're 18, and
20,
24.
24, 40, 60. You're 64 feet is the far, is that.
And it's-
So from the front, I know he's
Yeah,
looking
I
at
understand.
that. We've had multiple places right here where we've had impacts of somebody hitting the front of the building. And Doug is passionate about trying to relate, but if somebody's sitting in their truck that's lifted, the bumper block is not going to do a whole lot. But if somebody's in a regular car or a regular truck, when they hit it, especially if you're pulling in a parking spot, it's going to stop. That's what
Okay.
So my only hesitation in commenting is just, I feel like the facade potentially could have more drive-in doors than actual footage on the building of just building area. So you're more likely to go into a drive-in, which we can't put bollards.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think the man doors would be like securing anybody that was in their stationary, either using the bathroom or in the office space to prevent that strike versus, going through a drive-in or a warehouse space.
Okay, I think as you have it, it's okay then. Anywhere where there's just a regular
I
nose
do
parking.
have one question for Matt. On your plan, you have all your parking right now in the front. So if you start putting in the drive-through, you have to shift it to the back.
Yeah, over here. Yeah.
You have to shift it to the back.
Correct. Again, without knowing the tenants, I mean, these buildings are kind of designed in a vacuum, and as tenants come, we come in.
Right,
submit
okay,
for a
that's
plan.
good.
Yeah,
So I think as we have it, it's good. Wherever there is going to be, they can put the bumper as something. Better than nothing.
And like you said, if they're going to be moving parking, they're going to be moving it probably back here along the back wall. They're going to be taking it away from the front, moving it to the back wall here.
Okay.
So they'll be parking against the back, and then that's where they have the drive-throughs.
I mean, that's another idea, but if you just got rid of the nose-in parking here and you asked us to put it down here on the back side of the building, I mean, and then just have this for future use, I mean, or mix and match that.
I don't want to limit you,
Yeah.
because depending who buys the space, they can get a drive-through door. There may be
Right.
someone that doesn't need it, maybe a,
Well, yeah, and you
for
may
lack
get
of,
somebody
it
that
could be
I
somebody
want-
that does a laboratory.
I want
like it's
these
like a
four
little
spots up
laboratory
front.
use.
Yeah.
And it's only employees and,
And it's not, no high pedestrian traffic.
right, this is employees, it's
Yeah.
not,
I think
this
that's
isn't
no
retail,
no
this isn't
retail.
retail.
Yeah.
Retail's where you get your traffic, you have.
Yeah. Corey, I think
So you want to make that motion?
it has.
You wanna make- give it again?
You can add the condition of putting it in the parking in the back.
Oh, I don't
So,
know.
No, we don't
no,
want
I'm
to do
saying,
that.
so you would say, take all the parking along the face of the building and flip it to the back wall.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
Well, what effect would that have on emergency vehicle access?
I mean, you're going to get people that want to park up front.
Yes.
So here's what we get, every man door will have bollards, so
Right.
those will be set in concrete, and then any parking spaces that abuts the frontage of the building, we'll put a curb stop,
Yes.
either on the front or the back of the building.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes.
So you're okay with making that motion?
We don't need to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll make that motion with the conditions that Corey has. That's fine. It's better than nothing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Opposed? Okay, passes.
Just a question now, this property here that you got have deed restricted, there's a building there that's vacated right now.
There
What
is.
is your intention to do with that building?
So if we wanted to use it for industrial, we'd have to knock the building down. So
But
But you
you
couldn't
can't use it
put-
for residential.
we can't use it for residential unless we were to get a variance.
But right now it's remaining, or not? Do I have any plans for it?
We have no, I mean, so right now, it really depends, because we have to go in for zoning relief, which means we have an industrial use next to residential. So right now, it's a good buffer for the existing neighbors to have another house in between them and industrial versus them right up against industrial, because essentially the 100-foot buffer, you wouldn't be able to build on this lot because the lot's only 70 feet wide.
That's correct, so my question is, what are you gonna do with that building?
So we would like to use it for residential, but we don't want a 150-foot buffer, so that's why we bought it, not to take it down. So,
it's just gonna be a vacant lot.
I mean, a vacant lot, unless we go into the zoning hearing board and they're okay with, relieving that 100 feet from,
Well, you've already been denied that question.
So that's what I mean.
Yeah, you could call that green space for the frog.
Just like the trio.
But at the end of the day, I mean, the hardship on this one, I know it's, we're not in the zoning hearing, but the hardship for this lot is that you can't, if we knock the building down, we can't build on it, even though it's
I
a
understand.
conforming lot.
What are you
Yeah.
gonna do with it?
Yeah. So,
Okay, so right now you have no plans.
no plans.
Yeah, the only thing in the plan is deed restriction.
Again, it's residential unless we get variance relief.
So you need restricted that you can't use it for a residential purpose. So how can you make that?
I know.
How can you use it for residential then?
Sounds like a tail chase.
I think,
It's the way the ordinance is written, so they bought the property to use it as a buffer. But if they leave the house standing, it can just stand there and be the house standing becomes a buffer for the guy next to
Right,
him.
it's an elaborate
Right, but
screen.
you can't rent it out.
So-
You're gonna maintain the house?
it's completely maintained right now, so HVAC, everything's good. It's just, it could be a small office or something like that. It's just the odds of us being able to kind of find a tenant for it. It's got bedrooms, it's got, it's set up as a house, so.
Until if they come up with a use for it, that they would need to go to the zoning hearing board to see the zoning hearing board would give them relief. If they don't, they can't use it. It's just a
So
vacant property.
if we found a use to comply with the I-3 industrial district that could use a 1,200 square foot ranch, two-bedroom ranch house, then,
It still maintains a proper buffer between that and the residence next door.
well, true, then the use, yeah. So yeah, then we'd still have to get the variance relief, right? Because
Yes.
Because you've already been denied.
this time,
Full circle.
it's true, the true hardship, again, it's.
Well, that's up to the zoning hearing board how they would for that. Because
Okay, I think this conversation's pretty much after the fact.
Yeah.
So if you want to continue it afterwards, but I want to just get through it. Open the floor to public comment again, okay? And motion for adjournment, I'll entertain. Yes, John?
I'll make the motion.
All right, second. Favor? Can I just declare that, or do we have to vote on adjourning?
you technically have to vote.
All right,
All in favor?
we've done it.
Let me go stop the recording.
Thank you to the board for listening to me.
Just take a
Indulging me.
Steve, just hang on.
Sidewalk code.
Basically, waiting there is still my need, this gets.